Hey there, nerds. Welcome to another episode, round two. We had a technical issue beforehand, so we got hit the 18 minutes of just lost audio.
Yep.
But
It's
we're
fun.
back. I am joined by my lovely co-host, Seth the Direwolf Slykehouse. I am
What's up,
Pedro
big
the
dog?
Immovable. What's going on?
Yeah. I saw those two in Daybreak, and I was like, this seems to fit. I like it.
Yes, I like it. Yeah. One of my favorite things with those two, if they just insist on trading hands on site.
Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah, they're like, because there's like one, we'll get into it, but there's like one scene in Daybreak where they're like at a like info sharing thing, and they're like,
Yeah.
you know what? Let's trade hands.
We
And
gotta fight.
everyone else is like, wait, what? And they're like, oh yeah, now you guys are fighting too.
This is non-negotiable. We have to fight.
Well, and then what do you think of the scene towards the end where they're like, it's a side quest, where it's the dire wolf and then the other butterfly chick from Ouroboros, and then it's Zin and the chick from the church, the redhead Celis.
Yeah.
And like they switch the teams, and then one of the teams
They
ends
did
up
it
being
again.
yeah, it's like Walter and Zin. They're like, absolutely not, no,
Yeah.
switching again. Yeah, so but on our other episode that we lost, we kind of went through. I moved from Philly to Lock Haven. Seth is just hanging out. He's waiting for day shift, and that's your
Yep.
news. That's your fucking news update. So, getting right into it, we had been talking about where the vibe is with Sony, and we just feel like there is no vibe. Like there's no juice. There's no
Nothing.
besides like Astro's Playroom, and I can't really think. I'm not really excited for Concord. I'm not a Concord guy. Unless it's free on PS Plus or something like that, I'm probably not gonna play it.
Let me see
Like,
here. Coming Sony games.
yeah, it's like nothing. I just feel like it's been a weak year for like first party wise, because I remember I used to be all about the Sony first party exclusive,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden that kind of just cooled off for me. I'm like, kind of, I haven't even played Spider-Man 2 yet.
Well, yeah, you should play Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is pretty good.
Well, I'm gonna wait for it to be like on sale on Black Friday or something dumb like that. But
I guess that's fair.
yeah, but I think the last Sony exclusive I played that was like first party was Ragnarok. That was yeah, just I don't know, it's just the juice isn't there for me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single. There's not even like a list that I can see coming out.
So let me ask you this: what would be a Sony first party exclusive that would bring you back?
Well, I think anything really.
So say if like they
I'll,
announce a new Killzone, are you back?
yeah,
Okay.
I love Killzone, but I mean, spice it up. Give me a Resistance. You know, I would love a Resistance.
I feel like we're ready for Resistance again. I feel,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we'll ever get one again. I just don't know if we're ever gonna be back. I don't know.
I think they
Let's do
confirmed.
Wild Arms. How about that?
I never liked Wild Arms.
Okay. Seth does not like Wild Arms.
I don't vibe with Wild Arms. I don't like Western stuff.
Ah, really?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not even a Red Dead guy?
Never played Red Dead.
Okay. You know, it's another weird one they haven't redone, and this is weird me saying it because I famously have been critical of this game. Is a Legend of Dragoon.
Mm.
So, dude, when it came, I mean, I guess they're not interested in like such low numbers, but when it came back to PSN, I think like 4 million people downloaded it.
Your boy, the
Something like that.
completionist, just did a episode on Red Dead or Legend of Dragoon.
Oh, he's still alive. He exists.
Yep. I actually was just looking at his profile yesterday, and it's funny because
He lost a shit ton of subs.
Yeah, but he still has like a ton.
Yeah.
Like if I look up the completionist right now,
He like did the opposite of what Boogie did. Like, remember when Boogie was really popular? Now he just like tanked his own popularity by being an asshole.
the completionist has 1.47 million subs.
Yeah.
He's still doing all right.
Yeah, he's all right, but he caught quite the pee whack. It's like it was like him. He got one. Who was that other guy? Pro Jared was another one who fucked his shit up royally, but he seems to have been bounced back.
Pro Jared, I think.
Well, remember it came out. He was like messaging or allegedly.
He came out with like a whole bunch of evidence that wasn't true.
Yeah, that's why I said allegedly. But like he got fucking. Well, him cheating on his wife was true, but that was true. But
I think Pro
yeah,
Jared just looks like a creep. I've never watched any Pro Jared stuff.
I used to watch him when he was with like normal boots. Remember that whole? I feel like a lot of them dudes kind of beat fuck themselves up. Like, didn't JonTron come out like get found out as like a racist or some shit like that? He did.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like the only one out of that who's like never been in trouble is like Peanut Butter Gamer.
Never heard of that guy.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. I'm surprised Legend of Dragoon hasn't come back because I thought that's like one of those popular, not super popular, but it's like it's almost like a cult classic.
I mean,
I
I
would
would put
say.
Legend of Dragoon as far as popularity on the same level as like the Final Fantasies. I think Legend of Dragoon is incredibly popular.
Yeah. So did I tell you I recently was playing that like month or two ago?
I don't remember. I think every once a year you tell me you're playing Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah. Well, I got to where the fuck did I get to before? I stopped playing it because Daybreak came out.
Oh, I mean that's fair.
I'm trying to think what the fuck. Oh, where was I? It was right after you lose to the hell's his name? The main one of the main bad guys. I can't think of his damn name.
Lloyd.
He's the Black Dragon. Lloyd, yeah, Lloyd. He lose. Yeah, so I got that far. I got past that, so that's actually the furthest I've gotten in the game. But I will tell you that game, like, I'm trying to think, maybe like 10 hours in, throws like a stiff fucking boss at you. That it's like an ancient weapon where I forget the damn girl's name. She goes running off, and then you go chasing after her, and all of a sudden, it's this crazy boss fight.
Oh, I don't remember, buddy. I haven't played
Ugh.
that game in probably 2 decades.
I enjoyed my time with it though. I don't know why. Well, I know why I didn't like it the other times because I really don't like the inventory system. It really annoys me.
Yeah,
Um,
you said that.
that's been like the one consistent thing about that game. Like everything else, my opinion tends to change on it, but it's that one thing I really hate, and I'm also really bad at the inputs.
Hmm.
Specifically for Lavitz, I can't do his like. I just can't.
Some
Like,
of them are like extremely difficult. I will tell you. I will say that. Like some of them
yeah.
are ridiculous.
Well, because I'm either gonna have to grind a shitload to get the item that just gives it to you automatically,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm just gonna have to, as the kids, good as these nerds say these days, get good.
I remember you telling me now that you say that there was an item that does it for you automatically, and I've never
Yeah,
known that until you said that.
yeah. I was like looking in a shop one day. I was like, oh, all right. It's like extremely expensive, and that game they fucking cheap you out with the money for sure. So you're gonna be doing some grinding, but it can happen. Yeah, but I did enjoy my time with that because it was like a classic PS1 RPG. Like I don't for some reason like that just slaps every once in a while for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of PS1 RPGs, I was listening while I was working out today. I was listening to your when you were on Eric's show doing Chrono Cross.
Oh, yeah.
I finally listened to the rest of that.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, how didn't you bring up our experience with Kid and Pierre?
I don't know.
Specifically Kid, because every time I talk to somebody about Chrono Cross, and they always bring up Kid, and I like, oh, it's like one of my favorite characters, and I'm like, that character's a piece of shit, and they're like, what?
Well, so I felt that was a weird podcast because I personally felt like I was on my back foot the entire podcast, and I didn't feel like I was on top of my game, like with the conversation with him. I haven't talked to Eric in a long time since before that. Maybe that was
Yeah.
the reason, but I didn't feel. I don't know. I felt off that day, but as far
Okay.
as podcasting goes,
Well, I found it enjoyable. I enjoyed
good.
the conversation about it. Um, yeah, no, that was good. I enjoyed that. And
My
I'll tell you
only
what. Go ahead.
I was gonna say my only issue with that was I don't like the clickbait title that he added for it because that was not the vibe of the podcast.
Oh, was it a good sequel or not? Or
Because it
I don't remember
says, "Is Chrono Cross a bad sequel or just a bad game?" And I'm like, don't like that.
the. Yeah, I will say though, I will give him kudos. Is his podcast name Turn Based, or is that just what he named the episode?
His podcast is named Turn
That's a
Based.
good fucking name.
That is a good name.
A good fucking name.
He's doing good shit over there.
Yeah, that's son of a bitch. That's a good name. I will give him credit there. But yeah, back to Sony. Yeah, just the vibes are off. Like I don't know, there's not really anything I'm like dying to play or super excited about. So it's looking like it's going to be a backlog year for me. Like I think I'm going to pop in for Metaphor ReFantasio, and probably that's really it for me. I can't really think of anything games I'm going to be buying, which is sad because usually I like buy a shit ton of games a year, and now I think literally the last 2 years in a row, the only games I've bought have been like Trails and Final Fantasy.
I forgot Metaphor ReFantasia was coming out. I don't know that I'm
Well, I'm gonna wait for
really
reviews. I'm
into it.
not there day one, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like it's unneeded, because I feel like if we were just going to make a new Persona game, why didn't we just make a new Persona game or a new Shin Megami game,
Well, because that was the other one I was probably gonna get is SMT Vengeance,
Mm-hmm.
because now that they fixed it, I can play it because it's like almost unplayable on Switch. It's like pathetic.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they were thinking.
And I remember that was my knock on it when I played it before. I'm like, this runs like ass. But then like I was playing Xenoblade the other day, and Xenoblade runs great on Switch. So I don't. Well, the Chronicles Definitive Edition. I haven't played really 2 or 3 yet, so maybe might want to table that. But Definitive Edition runs well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it runs great, and it's surprisingly how good it runs.
Yeah. And then some of the other things we were talking about. We were talking about Avowed getting delayed. Tough look. Not really. The vibes on that game are off now for me. I'm just kind of like, are we gonna have another turd on our hands? Are we gonna have another fuck up?
Yeah, I think Avowed's gonna be fine. I don't think it's gonna be great. I think Avowed is gonna be fine. That's my take on it.
You know what I'm excited for is going to be your take on Fable when you get it in your hands. Because I know you're going to play it. I know you're going to play it.
Dude, I don't know if I am. I'm the number one new Fable hater. If that game has no haters, I'm dead.
I feel like you're going to at least jump in just to see, just to validate the hate, and then there's going to be scorched earth. It's going to be beautiful.
I hate that game so much because of what it did. Like you don't understand how. Like you're just gonna parade my fucking one of my favorite games corpses around and pretend like it's a new game. Fuck off.
I showed Adam that trailer and he's like, "Did they think like it's a game about fables? Like did they?"
Apparently.
And that was like his earnest
crazy.
That was like his earnest reaction. I was like, exactly.
Yeah, I'm so mad about it, dude.
And then the other thing we were talking about in the 18 minutes of audio that we lost, Dragon Age. I don't know. That's one that's probably going to be a wait for the reviews, and then wait for a price drop.
Yeah, I mean, if it's good, if the reviews come out good and everyone says how good it is and whatnot, praises it, I'll get it. Chrono's being a douche.
A wild Chrono appears. You got to be ready for a preemptive strike.
What the fuck he was thinking? I got candle wax all over the place because he knocked over the candle.
Had a boy Chrono. I like that he just lets you know he's there. He can still be Chrono at any time, even though he's like way older.
Yeah, he's a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, he's like, I still got it, motherfucker. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like they're now with like how many great fucking games have come out and like how full people's backlogs are. I think you got to really, really you got to really show out and get people's attention ASAP. Otherwise, people are just gonna revert to running through the bangers that are sitting in their backlogs.
Absolutely.
Because yeah, I feel like this year, besides like for me, obviously Rebirth was a day one purchase for both of us. But then Trails through Daybreak. I know you had Dragon's Dogma, but
yep.
There hasn't really been like too many games where I've been like, oh shit, it's time.
Yeah, I mean, Rebirth was the big one, right? I don't even know what else came out this year, dude. My time dilatation's nuts. But out of all the ones I can think of, Rebirth and Daybreak were the two that, and you got fucked over in Daybreak too.
Yeah. Oh, they fucked me hard. I finally just got my refund, by the way.
Oh, did you get a refund for it?
Yeah, because I fucking canceled it because I bought my copy at Just Press Play.
Oh, I thought you couldn't find it.
No, so I drove out because when I went back to Philly that day, they were close. I called them the next day. I'm like, "Yo, do you have Trails through Daybreak?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Hold that copy. I'll be there."
I'm coming right now.
Yeah, so I drove 2 hours to fucking from Philadelphia to Lancaster for trails through Daybreak.
Is it really 2 hours? Was it really 2 hours from your old spot?
More like an hour and a half, I
Oh, I
guess
thought it was
maybe.
like 30 minutes.
No, no, that's a ride, boy. Um, yeah. So getting into because there's a meaty second half of the show here. So let's get into what we've been playing. And if you, I didn't know if you updated the show notes
No,
to
I
get
haven't
people.
updated them.
All right. Have you been playing anything besides Daybreak?
Yeah. Once I finished Daybreak, first, by the way, King's here.
By like an hour or two, where the fuck it was.
It was like 12 hours, buddy. It was like
Not, dude.
12. I was at work when you finished it.
So what did you finish? I thought you finished it literally hours before I did.
No, dude, you finished it like way late in the night. In fact, I was at work, and remember, I texted you. I was like, "Dude, are you still fighting that thing? It's been like 4 hours."
Yeah, we ran into a stiff fucking boss at the end there. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
No, I fit it because I technically um beat the game that previous day, and then in the morning, then I had to sleep. So once I beat that final boss, I pressed the pause button because I was like only gonna get 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll finish watching this cutscene when I wake up. But yeah, I finished it like I don't know, like 12 to 18 hours before you.
Yeah.
Right before you. Came in right before the finish line. But no, once I beat Daybreak, I fired up Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Which I've had lined up for a while. That's the plan to play through some of that. Once I beat Daybreak, and I've been enjoying playing through that again. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Never beat it though. Never beat it. It's one of those games that has always eluded the final act for me. So I'm gonna see if I can beat that because like we talked about earlier, I really don't have anything else going on this next 6 months, however long it's gonna be. So that's pretty much it though. I've really been tinkering with anything else. I was just like casually enjoying my time with Daybreak because I knew you didn't get to play it for a long time. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm having a blast with this. And then you fucking beat like chapter 3 and 4 in one night, in one day. And I'm like, oh, all right. Like, I guess I gotta pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, I just have this habit of like no lifing Trails games.
Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ.
um, have you played Dawn Trail yet?
No, I don't know if I'm going to right now. I gotta be in the vibe for an MMO. I gotta be willing to like dedicate some time to it, you know? And I wasn't impressed with the way Endwalker went. The pacing of Endwalker really pissed me off. I loved the overall story of Endwalker, but the pacing really upset me. So that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth for Final Fantasy campaigns for a while. I figured maybe someday when, you know, you or Watson get there, we can play through it together. But
well, I don't know, because now that I'm done with Daybreak, I don't really know what else. Like, I have a couple games I could finish up. Like, because in my backlog right now, I have Persona 5 Strikers that I was playing before Daybreak came out. I'm still running through Demon Souls, the PS5 remake.
Oh wow!
And then I'm playing. I played Metro last night, so I still got to play Metro Exodus. So we still got a couple candidates, and then I've been staring at East 8 for fucking weeks now. Because here's the thing, because like we like Falcom, but I don't think we're East guys.
No, I don't think so either.
But I don't know, because I've beaten a fair amount of East games. Like I beat East Book 1 and 2, I beat East 3, I beat East Memories of Celceta. So like I've beaten my fair share of East games, but I'm like, when a new one comes out, I'm like, well, it's fucking East. Like it's just kind of.
Wasn't there like that legendary podcast clip from 2 Beers and a Whiskey, or maybe it was Alpha Nerds back in the day, where you're like, I don't think you're a Falcom guy.
Yeah,
I just don't think so.
that was pre-Trails. That was pre-Trails. Because I said that because you didn't really like East, and you definitely did not like Trails of Cold Steel at that point.
No, I did not.
So I didn't think you were a Falcom guy, and now you're a Trails guy. Well, now we're both Trails guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like I have this weird relationship with the East franchise. Every time an East game comes out, I'll pre-order it, and I'm like, it'll just sit there.
Yeah, you're like, gotta get in there, and then never get in there.
I don't. But I'm the same way with Xanadu too. Like I played like 15 hours of Tokyo Xanadu, and like I didn't hate it, but I'm like it's
People
like
keep telling me that it's like phenomenal.
I don't know about phenomenal. Like, I think it's passable. It's fine. It's not Trails, and that's probably the issue
Yeah.
because like it has it very much has the skeleton of Trails of Cold Steel. Like you can see, like basically they reused a shit ton of assets.
Like it wants to be Trails of Cold Steel, but it's
Yeah,
not.
and you want it to be Trails of Cold Steel, but it just is just not Trails of Cold Steel. So yeah, so let's just get right into the fucking meat and potatoes of what we're doing tonight. So this episode, I'm gonna preface this right now. We are gonna spoil the shit out of just about every game except. Do we want to leave out Trails Through Daybreak at
It's up
least?
to you, buddy. Whatever you want, as long as there's a spoiler warning, I feel like we can do whatever we want.
All right, fuck it. We're spoiling the shit out of all these motherfuckers. Every single game, we're spoiling it. So if you've been thinking about playing through the Trail series, or you're looking for a reason to play through the Trail series, this is probably not the podcast for you. If you listen to every other podcast we've ever done on Alpha Nerds, that we suck this series dick so goddamn hard because it's as not a famous YouTuber, but there's this YouTuber called King Recon that I watch that his level of excitement, the way he gets excited about anything, is borderline impressive. But he calls Trail series like peak fiction.
Mm, about that, but
That's what he calls it. Like it's pretty damn good. So we're big fans of the Trail series on this podcast, and we've been dying to do a deep dive into this series. So with that being said, spoilers for literally the Liberal arc, both Crossbell games, all four Ereboni games. That's Cold Steel 1 through 4, and then obviously Trails Through Reverie and Trails Through Daybreak. And we're gonna spoil the fucking anime. We're spoiling everything.
oh, I haven't seen the anime yet.
Yeah, you're not missing much. But yeah, we're gonna spoil every single game, so there's gonna be big spoilers here. And you've been warned. And if you didn't hear that warning, you can go fuck yourself. So getting into it, where do we want to start? Are we going to start with Daybreak, or do we want
I
to
don't
start
know.
with?
I mean, you're the one that went into this conversation. You want to lead it. I figured
All right,
just
I
let
got
you
this.
take the reins and just go for it. You know.
All right, so let's start from the beginning. So we're both like some of the misguided children that we got started on the Erebonia arc, both of
Yep.
us. And so talk about your relationship with Cold Steel and how you even heard of Trails games.
Well, I hadn't heard of the Trails games until it was a long time. I don't know how long. But I was just at GameStop one day, bored, looking for new games, and I see the Trails of Cold Steel Special Edition PlayStation 3 version. And this was this must have been 2015 probably. And I'm like, what the hell is that game? I'd never heard of it before. So I looked it up and I saw like it got phenomenal reviews from people all over the place. I'm like, all right, let me grab that bad boy. And I got it, and I either didn't play it or I played like 15 minutes of it and ducked out. But um then I got the first game again on PS4 when that came out, and I remember starting it and then being like, nah, I guess this game's just not for me, you know. And then you came and you're like, oh, I don't even know if you told me you were playing it or if you just beat it. And I'm like, what the fuck? You
Mm-hmm.
know, because I think I played like, I don't know, 10 hours of it on PS4 or something and ducked out. And to be fair, I think that with the Trails of Cold Steel, if you hadn't played the other games before in the franchise, I don't think that it's going to be a very pleasant experience. I think we both felt that way, right? Like
Yeah.
until you get to those last 10 hours or something, I feel like, or not 10 hours, probably like last 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Trails of Cold Steel just drags its feet, especially if you're doing all the side quests and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, that is these games. I feel like if you don't start from the beginning and you're not catching all the callbacks to previous games and like the Easter eggs and stuff like that, and you're not experiencing the world building from the start, I think you're gonna find yourself getting distracted and maybe getting really bored with them. But if you follow from the beginning, it's like this incredible journey of like world expansion that it goes through. Um with the biggest arc, of course, being the Erebonia arc, um, and I think the most intimate arc being the Liberl arc, because you really get to know Liberl because you can't
Mhm.
fast travel in those games. You know, you have to walk around and explore everything, which gets annoying. But I do think that it allows, because it allows you more, it allows it a more immersive experience, because they say in the game that you're not supposed to be taking like airships and whatnot as a bracer because they want you to learn the lay of the land that you're protecting or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, that makes sense, and you do get immersed in it that way. But yeah, what is it? 2018 maybe. Me and you start playing Trails of Cold Steel 1, and it's been just a grind ever since. You know, for however many years it's been now. So
Yeah.
and then we finally reached the end. We're finally caught up. Um, of course, we both were caught up in the previous game in Reverie,
Yeah.
and you had beaten Reverie like, what was it, like 6 months ago, a year ago, or something like that, and
Yeah.
I had beat it like right before Daybreak came out. So
Mhm.
and now looking back on it, it's like, yeah, it is one of the best series I think I've ever played, and it feels like an ongoing TV show is how I
Yeah.
explain it to people. It's like an ongoing fiction novel series or like an ongoing TV show that just keeps expanding and keeps moving towards an end goal, which is one of my issues with Daybreak, but we'll get to that eventually.
See, my experience. So I remember walking in, same as you, walking into a GameStop. This is back when I was like a heavy collector. I would just like, oh, that looks good. That looks like it'll might get rare. So I see this game, silver case, Trails of Cold Steel, and it was on fucking clearance. I remember like GameStop was like clearancing them out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why is this game on clearance? Like it looks like a well packaged thing. So I buy it, and then I put it in my collection. Don't touch it. And then I remember you mentioning your buddy Thomas that told you that like the Trail series is like incredible. I'm like, really? So I start playing it, and I get like Persona vibes from it. So I play like 15 hours of it. I'm like, all right, but like it was a slow burn. So I'm like, ah. And it was on PS3, so I was like, ah. So then, I kind of just put it down, and then randomly one day, I saw that it came out on PS4, and I didn't buy it right away because I'm like, well, I already have this. So I just started playing it on PS3. So I played through Cold Steel 1 on PS3, which is like a painful fucking experience.
I remember that. I was impressed
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Um, but then I remember just like it just being a slow burn. So I would just play it here and there. Like when I didn't feel like playing anything else, I would pop in like and just kind of play it. Like I played it in a lot of bite-sized chunks. So like I would do like you would go to a town, do all the requests, and then fight a boss. So it was kind of it got a little predictable. But what I did like was how they were slowly building up the world, because I felt like they were turning Class 7 into like the bracers basically, because Erebonia had no bracers. But this is, mind you, we didn't know context wise why there were no bracers in Erebonia, because we didn't know that like in the Liberl arc it was set up that they sent Ouroboros over to Erebonia and blew up like a bunch of the Bracer Guild branches, so like Cassius Bright would leave Liberl to go deal with that. Like these are like these deep fucking cuts that you don't like you don't know about. So so then I sit there playing Cold Steel, and um, I remember I looked something up because I was just curious about like someone's backstory. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on with this guy. So I looked up Crow for a second, and I got the shit spoiled out of me, bad, bad. So as it turns out, in Cold Steel 1, Crow ends up fucking betraying your team,
that. Mm-hmm.
and he ends up being almost basically the final boss of that game, basically. Um, and it's supposed to come as like a huge left, and I was so mad because like I knew it was coming, and it just bothered the shit out of me that I didn't get that. Like, oh fuck, because just to hammer this point home, today when I was bored, I ran through the end of Cold Steel 1 because I randomly had a save that was like on the finale. I was like, okay, let me run through the end of this,
Mm-hmm.
and dude, the way they set this up, this motherfucker, you wouldn't see it coming like at all. There's no hints. There's
Yeah.
no. He doesn't say shit. And like even when you awaken Valimar, he's like the next day he's like they're looking at Valimar. It's like, oh, somebody can get in that thing. I'm like, fuck you, Crow. Like, dude.
Wait, Switch. By the way, I want you to understand that, and I don't think I've ever told you this before, but like you kind of spoiled that for me because I
Oh,
hadn't beaten Cold Steel 1 yet, and you saw like the cover of Cold Steel 2, like the steel case or
oh
something, and
shit.
you're like, "Oh yeah, there's a giant spoiler on the steel case of Cold Steel 2, and it's Crow and Reen on like opposite sides, like facing away from each other. I think Crow even has like the C costume, like from neck down, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh okay, well I guess Crow's gonna betray. Otherwise, I would have never taken a second look at it. I would have been like, oh, it's Reen and Crow on the front of the cover.
But it's crazy that they did that. Like, because I
Yeah,
guess you wouldn't know that though. You wouldn't know to think that unless
no,
somebody. But that's the other thing about the Trail series, man. You can fucking spoil yourself on just the
yeah,
dumbest little detail. I will say they've gotten better because I've watched the trailer for Kuro and Kai, and there's no like there's characters that pop up, but as you know, it's very rare anyone in the Trail series dies, so it's kind of like
right.
okay. Um, I always think
There's
that's a,
been one, I think,
there,
right? One.
there, nah, there've been a few. What Weisman's dead, the faceless.
Oh yeah, he's dead as fuck.
We'll get to him. Yeah, he's pretty fucking dead. Luve's dead. I think who else? Basically any bad guy dies. And
Which
then
how did you pronounce Luve's name before you heard it in translation?
Low.
That's how I was pronouncing it too. I was like, Lo.
Yeah, I thought it was like, well, I thought it was Lean Lionheart, Leonheart, or some shit like that, like his last name, because people would call him that. And
Hmm.
then like I remember somebody said Luve. I'm like Luve. But yeah,
And by the way, that is a story that was not explained in before Trails of Cold Steel 3. So we went to see that dude's sword in Trails of Cold Steel 3, and I'm
it's
like,
just a
okay,
random sword there. That
yeah,
belongs to the Blade Lord. I'm like, oh, he's the Blade Lord, huh?
yeah,
Yeah. So and it's crazy because like if you go to Trails of Cold Steel 3, right? There's that part with Hamill, and like there's fucking a callback to 6 games ago.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying, dude. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's a really sad town, whatever.
Yeah. Then like I think so. Here's the thing that sucks about the Trails games. People shit on the Ereboni arc. They say it's like the worst arc, but like I feel like the
I don't
Ereboni arc.
agree.
That's like the one I have the most nostalgia for because I guess that's like for us that was like the arc that got us hooked.
Yeah, I've definitely enjoyed the Airbonia arc more than I think the Crossbell or Liberal games. The Liberal games are my second favorite. I didn't really enjoy Crossbell as much as other people did,
I love Crossbell.
mainly because I didn't like the protagonist. But I don't know.
Lloyd's pretty fucking hateable.
Yeah, I think he's a fucking
He,
happy
he
douche.
he's like the lead. Like if you look at every protagonist, like you have Estelle, who her character growth is huge,
Hmm.
and then you have Reen, which he's very likable. Then Van probably, I don't know if he's my favorite yet, but he could get there. He could get there. And then you have Lloyd, who's like, he's always the same guy. Like yeah, he's maybe more confident, but like Lloyd doesn't have any like savage moments. It's more like in the Crossbell games, it's like the narrative is what does that game justice.
Yeah,
Specifically, Trails to Azure. I think that's like the best one of that duology. But yeah, like I just feel like people shit on the Ereboni arc, and here's the reason why I think they shit on it, and I think it's because, um, I think it's because of Cold Steel One. I think it's because of like Cold Steel One is such a slow burn. Not that it's a bad game, but I just feel like it spends so much time building that world.
mm-hmm.
And you focus on Class 7 and all the members of Class 7, which, by the way, full of killers.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like
I think,
extremely like obnoxiously powerful characters, and then you have Elliot.
and then Elliot. Yeah, Elliot's there. Yeah, he's just around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Cold Steel 1, but which a lot of people jumped on in Cold Steel 1 though. That's it. So
Mm-hmm.
like, I just don't know. I don't know if like I guess every game in a new arc is basically a jumping in point because they say even Kondo says you can jump in at Daybreak, but I don't know why you would do that.
I think out of the 4 arcs, if you're not gonna jump in the Sky series after playing Daybreak, Daybreak seems like the second most successful place to jump in
Mm-hmm.
because it bears the least amount of connection to the other 3 games. I don't. The fact that they released the Erebonian games before the Crossbow games is like a criminal offense, in my opinion, because those games directly connect to each other. They're like they
Yeah,
might as well be the same series.
yeah, they happen like literally at the same time.
Yeah.
I think which one is it? Is it in Cold Steel 2 where like the fucking Azure trees up and they're
Yeah,
like,
at the
oh,
end of the
what's
game, the Azure Tree just pops above the clouds.
they're like, oh, what's that? What's going on over there?
Yeah.
And then, but since like I was playing through the end of Cold Steel 1 and I was looking at like some of the books, and if you read like the Imperial Times, they'll like talk about what's going on in Crossbell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like crazy to think like that shit's going on literally at the same time you're doing like the festival in Erebonia. So like, yeah, those 2 games going on at literally the same time is insanity. But yeah, like Cold Steel 1, specifically the ending of Cold Steel 1 is where the hook is, because they hook you. Cold Steel 1, basically after you make your journey around Erebonia and you see what the problems are with the nobles and the reformists and like all the discourse, you don't learn about what's really going on behind the scenes yet, of course, but they end with that fucking banger of a fight between 2 mechs. It basically turns into a Gundam anime, which that's right up my alley. And then it goes into Trails of Cold Steel 2 for us. So talk about your memories with Cold Steel 2.
My memories with Cold Steel 2 are that I remember loving that game all the way through. I remember that was the game that I broke the most.
Oh yeah,
It's either that game or Reverie that I broke the most,
I feel like
because
Reverie wants you to break it.
in Cold Steel 2 though, I became pretty much unbeatable. Whereas the final boss in Reverie almost beat me because I couldn't delay it enough. But in Cold Steel 2, for people that don't know, you can break that game in such a way that you never get hit once, because you can set up an evasion tank, and the mechanics in Cold Steel 2 are so that the enemies will attack whatever character is closest to them. And that makes it so that you can put Fee's evasion to over 100% very easily. And then you can also do another thing with Reen, where you can use his, I forget which ability it is. It doesn't really pop up anymore in the rest of the series. I don't think, or they
Chrono
rename it.
Break or Chrono
Well,
Burst?
it's whatever long distance one he has, and it delays.
Yeah.
You can buff his delay ability so that it delays them constantly, and then buff Reen's speed up, so he's just constantly delaying the enemy. And then you can set things up with like your casters to have them regain all their magic ability or magic points whenever you cast like these extremely powerful spells. And like you can do all this crazy stuff to break Cold Steel 2. And despite them trying to nerf that over and over again throughout the series,
Can't do
they
it.
were never able to completely fix this kind of stuff. So by the end of the game, in each one of these games, you're pretty much unstoppable. And that was the case so far. I mean, the least unstoppable has been Daybreak so far. I found Daybreak to be the one that I could not break as
Yeah.
much as the others. But yeah, my experience with Cold Steel 2 is that I remember loving that game all the way through. I remember being frustrated with the narrative in that game because there was so clearly a good side and a bad side. And I think Class 7 was like, oh, we're gonna try. We decided we're not gonna pick sides and we're gonna stay out of it. And I'm like, there seems to be a clear like villain,
Yeah.
But I guess further in, then you realize there's like other people playing behind the scenes, and maybe that there wasn't such a clear villain. But from their perspective, there should
Right.
have been someone that like I don't know. But
Now you start realizing this motherfucker Osborne's playing 4D chess. That's
Yeah.
what the fuck starts happening?
yeah. But I remember loving Trails of Cold Steel 2, and I see people online shitting on it, but I guess that's a further different discussion that should happen. Whereas, like, it seems like every Trails game is divisive, no matter what. People
So
seem
here-
to love or hate
yeah.
every single one of them.
So here's the thing, though. Like, you're the only other Trails fan I know. Like, I don't know anyone else who plays this series. Like, obviously, I watch like YouTube videos or anything and shit like that. But like, as far as like people I have conversations about this series with, It's only you, because I know you've mentioned that the Trails fandom sucks, like
Yeah, it
very
does.
very toxic, and so I literally don't know any other Trails series fans. So I've thankfully been excluded from the toxicity. But yeah, no, Cold Steel 2. I remember loving this game because I wasn't on the PS3 anymore. I'm like, because I was gonna pop it in for PS3. I was like, no, fuck that. I'm getting the PS4 version because once I saw I had a turbo mode, I was like, oh
The turbo mode's a game changer. It really is.
yeah. So I really ended up loving. I loved my time with Trails of Cold Steel 2. I thought it was like this game was like the first one was a slow burn, where this one's like a 5 alarm blaze basically the whole
Mm-hmm.
time. It's like
Mm-hmm.
fucking shit going down all the time, and then they start doing the thing where they've done it almost every single game at this point. Nah, I wouldn't say every single game, but a fair amount. Where there's a point where you think the game's going to end and it just keeps going.
Yes.
So
Trails of Cold Steel 2 is the biggest offender of this game, I believe.
yes, because you get an ending, and then all of a sudden it continues, and you're back at Thor's, and they're like, "Oh yeah, now you got to go to the Reverie Corridor and fuck it, or to the is it the Reverie Corridor or the Proving Grounds? I don't remember. I think
It's
it's the
the
Proving
Reverie
Grounds.
corridor because they reference it again
Yeah,
in Reverie. They're like, oh, we've been here
yeah,
before.
yeah. So you go there to do some challenge and fight some boss who sucks, and then, but then like you think it ends there? No, 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 no. It keeps going because then you start playing as Lloyd, or you start playing as Lloyd for a little bit, and then you have a really cool fight between it's like Lloyd and Risha, who you don't know who that is at this point,
Mm-hmm.
um, but versus Reen and Altina, which is cool. Like it's fun time because who doesn't love watching protagonists trade hands? It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you get all that, and then you think it stops. No, 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 no. If you go into New Game Plus, which you'd miss a giant cutscene if you don't do this, you got to go in and get the black records and give them to Thomas Lysander, which at the time you don't know. This motherfucker Thomas Lysander is a member of the church. He's called the Partitioner. He's I think he's one of the Dominions, and like
I think he is.
yeah, he's a member of the church. And then he just goes on for this giant lore dump, like takes a giant fucking lore dump on you, and and the reason why Cold Steel 2 is like the biggest offender of this, Cold Steel 3 leads off assuming you know that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is a Dominion, by the way.
Yeah, he's a
He's the
Dominion.
number 2 Dominion.
Yeah, and it's crazy because when you go back and play Cold Steel 1, knowing what you know, there's so many things you're like, "Oh my god, this motherfucker right here."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's one time he's at the schoolhouse and it's like it's all I don't know something's going on. There's like a force field around. He's like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on, motherfucker. You know damn well what's going on." So Cold Steel 2. While I love it, people do hate this game because like it does some things that are really egregious. And then obviously in this game, Crow dies, but we soon learn that if you're a Trails protagonist, you have plot armor and no one stays fucking dead. And then we're gonna get to another game. Um, this is my favorite game in the Erebony arc is Trails of Cold Steel 3.
Widely considered the worst one, also, by the way.
Yeah, but since the Trails fandom is toxic, fuck them. What do they know?
Just real quick, I also wanted to say I never went back into the New Game Plus stuff in Trails of Cold Steel 2.
You probably just watched it on YouTube, right?
I did. I just watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, no, see, I went back and did it because at that time I cared about those things. And I was like, I didn't know about the YouTube. I didn't know like this was going to happen. I just wanted to see because I'm like, I wonder if I can carry my shit over. And then it's like, oh, give him the black records. I'm like, oh, I have a ball. Here you go. And then this cutscene hits. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa.
It's also worth noting that when we both beat Trails of Cold Steel 2, we were, for the first time, caught up in the series. With the modern games. We hadn't played the liberal games or the crossbow games, but we had completed the crossbow games up to completion.
Here's the
or we had completed the Erebonian games up to completion before 3 and 4 came.
Yeah. And here's the thing that so I feel like our Trails experience has been a little bit different than everyone else's because like we went from like 3D graphics and like debatably HD graphics to going back to like just a vastly different art style for like 6 games basically. Mm-hmm. So by the time we got back to Reverie, I was like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I was like, hell yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So here, so Trails of Cold Steel 3. I think you might have beat this one before I did,
Mm-mm.
because I remember it took me 6 months to beat this fucking game.
No, you'd beaten every Trails game before me, except for the Liberal games
Yeah.
and Daybreak.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but Trails of Cold Steel 3, I remember loving this game. I didn't know this game is like the most text heavy one, like it has the
Mhm.
most text in it. But this game, man, I feel like this game does the most to move the plot forward in the Erebonia games. Like, there's so much shit that goes down in this game where you have new Class 7, which, how'd you feel about new Class 7?
I didn't like them at first, but by the end of Trails of Cold Steel 3, I thought they were better than the old Class 7.
Okay. The only one I didn't like out of them was, for a while, I didn't like Ash.
He's kind of just there, I
He
feel
was like
like.
an edge lord. I'm like, what's it? Then you find out like the tragedy of Hamill. You're like, oh, all right.
He doesn't get a whole lot of usefulness from me in combat, to be honest with you.
Well, you can make him a fucking critical hit monger in that game where he can fucking you can do some damage with Ash. And then I turned Kurt into the evasion tank.
That's fair.
Yeah. But this game, I feel like this game is like the red wedding of the Trails series because so many motherfuckers get killed in this game.
Yeah.
So, and then there's that scene where Ash like turns into an assassin, just straight shoots the fucking king.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. That kind of
Neither
came
did
out
I.
of nowhere for me. Yeah, that was a big twist.
Yeah, and then the big one, Milliam fucking dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Milliam dies. Fucking Oliver, Toval, the Radiant Blade Master, whatever the fuck his name is, Victor Arside or whatever, he dies.
Does he?
He's on the ship. So that ship pops up at the end, and the black Albrick hits the fucking button, and he blows the fucking ship up.
Yeah, but didn't a bunch of them survive?
They all survived, and
Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah. So that's when we learned about plot armor because
Mhm.
but remember, Cold Steel 4 hadn't come out yet, so like this game ends on a fucking brutal cliffhanger
Yeah.
where like Reen ends up killing the legendary beast and unleashing the great Twilight, and then goes berserk. Like, yeah, I feel like this game leaves you on such a fucking cliffhanger. Like, oh shit, and then
Yeah,
and then,
because the end of that game when Reen turns like dark Reen or whatever you want to call him, Ishmalgareen, if you will, and just kind of like goes berserk, and then he gets imprisoned at the end, and you're just like, whoa, what the fuck?
yeah, it was just like whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa. Yeah, this game did some things to me. I was like sitting there, like I had to go sit down and have a beer and just sit and think about it. I was like, shit.
That's kind of how I feel about every Trails game. Once you finish it, I'm like, I have this like very empty, like strange feeling once I finish a Trails game. I do. It's a
Yeah,
very odd experience. But yeah, especially after Trails of Cold Steel 3, because thankfully I had Trails of Cold Steel 4 immediately lined up that I could just jump right into. Which Trails of Cold Steel 4 was when I switched to playing on the PC,
yeah,
and I played on PC for Trails of Cold Steel 4 all the way through until Daybreak.
yeah, yeah. See, I've remained on PlayStation. Yeah, no, this game. I just remember this game like fucking mind fucked me bad. I'm like, this
Mhm.
was like this is probably my favorite ending of all the Trails games.
Yeah, I really liked Yuna and Musei and Kurt. I wasn't such a big fan of. I think he's fine, but Yuna and Musei I think are like phenomenal characters.
Oh yeah,
Altina, I was like
mm-hmm.
whatever with.
Well, because Musei is another one who's playing 4D chess.
Yeah, yeah, her
And
reveal
then
is huge.
yeah, and then we get to the one that everyone hates this game, Trails of Cold Steel 4.
I don't know why.
I don't know because I really liked Cold Steel 4 actually, like a lot. But
Yeah.
like I think 3, just from a narrative perspective, 3 is like probably the better one because I feel like 4 undoes a lot of what 3 did.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a lot of fan servicey moments in this game, specifically like when you have the meeting and you meet up finally with Cassius Bright, which we're gonna get to him. because we got some problems with him. But yeah, like I just feel like this game kind of it wraps up the Erebonia arc in such a way that when you learn Chancellor Osborne, which I guess we skipped over in Cold Steel 2, you learn that he's your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you learn why he didn't die when Crow shot him, because basically when he saved Reen, so let me explain this so it makes sense. So Reen as a baby gets fatally wounded because as retribution for Osborne not stopping, but I guess like snitching on Lecter's dad, who was like trying to start a war with LeBurl, and they used the Hamill incident to start as an excuse to invade. They retaliated by like murdering his family,
Mm-hmm.
and Reen is seriously wounded, and Osborne calls out, "Somebody help me! I'll do anything." And then Ishmelga basically comes and's like, "Hey, surrender your soul to me, and I'll save your son." So Osborne basically rips his own heart out and puts it in Reen. But when Osborne does that, he becomes an immortal because of the curse of Erebonia. Because as long as your divine knight is not fatally wounded, you'll never die.
Right.
So we don't obviously know that. So then at the end of Cold Steel 1, when fucking Crow's like, "See you in hell," fucking shoots him shoots him, and like we think he dies, and then all of a sudden he's just very not dead. In Cold Steel 2, you're like, okay. Yeah, so in Cold Steel 4, we learned that this motherfucker Osborne's been playing 4D chess the whole time. Also, he's the reincarnation of Dreichels, the original like legendary emperor of Erebonia.
Yeah.
And he basically that the whole Erebonia arc, like starting the rivalries and setting all these conditions to is basically to break the curse of Erebonia, which is like a curse that makes them do irrational shit to go to war. And it's all this to get rid of Ishmelga, basically. And you don't know that until like basically the end of Cold Steel 4.
Yeah. So first off, we're skipping over the part that Cold Steel 4 is a giant battle royale with like mechs, which is like amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, love the awesome rivalries.
But also I'm trying to remember. His main plan was to like turn into Ishmelga and then seal it away or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, it was to seal it away.
That's what I thought.
But then he's like, Reen just kills him, basically. Yeah, just like it kind of boils down to Reen just kills him. But yeah, like I just feel like Cold Steel 4 puts a nice bow on the whole Erebonia arc.
You know what I don't like about the game though? That I just remembered?
What?
You have to get the bad ending first.
Yes.
And then you can go back and get the good ending, which I am not a fan of.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes with Trails games, like I feel like the endings are always a little Like they're not that they're bad, but sometimes they kind of slip up towards the end. But no. I didn't like that either. And I will say though, out of all the Erebonia games, this has like my favorite.
You know what? Maybe maybe the Reverie thing is maybe they had that planned in advance. That's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, they could have. That's some deep fucking cut lore shit. Like,
yeah, that may be the reason. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, no, I just feel like this game, it does a lot of fan service. There's a lot of really cool moments. Even at the end where you have like the ensemble team ups where you have the LeBurl people in the game, the crossbow guys, obviously the Erebonia people. So like there's a lot of fan service, and you think like, oh, this is the end of this. Like this is the end of this arc. This is great. And then it became a weird period for us because after Cold Steel 4, at that time, because we still hadn't played the LeBurl games, we were fully caught up. We were caught up with every Trails game that was, or every modern Trails game that was in the US. Mm-hmm. But we kept hearing about the Crossbell games. Like we knew they existed at that point. And then we knew about this game, Trails in the Reverie. We knew it was out there, but we didn't know if
Hajimari.
It was Hajimari. We didn't know if we were going to get it. So a while goes by, and then I think it gets announced that the Crossbell games are getting official releases in the US. Because I think when did Cold Steel 4 come out? 2019? 2022? 21? 22? I don't remember.
me get that official.
Yeah, I'm
Trails of
trying to
Cold
remember when
Steel 3 comes out
had to have been 2020.
worldwide 2019. And then
Wow.
Trails of Cold Steel 4. I remember Trails of Cold Steel 4 coming out pretty quick after 3. Trails of Cold Steel 4 comes out in 2020. Yeah, so
Okay.
about a year.
Yeah. So basically, we have no trails over here after that for what, almost 3 years.
Let me look. Yeah, 2023.
Yeah. So
Wow.
then I wasn't originally going to play the Liberal game, so I'm like, I'm not fucking fuck that. Like, I just wanted to be caught up, and then you told me you were running through the Liberal games. I'm like, oh, God bless, buddy. I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. And then I
Yep.
start playing. So I get Trails to zero. When this comes out, I
Yep.
buy it, and I'm playing it. I play like 4 hours in, and then there's like a reference. There's some reference to something that went down in the Liberal games, and Estelle and Joshua show up. I'm like,
Yeah, they show up like immediately.
I was just like, I see them show up. I was like, God damn, all right, like,
Fine, fuck.
yeah. So then so I stopped playing Trails from zero and jump into Trails because I already had them. I had bought them forever ago when there
Hmm.
was a Steam sale. I just was like, I don't really feel like fuck that. Like, I don't really want to play on PC. Like, fuck this.
Right.
So I fire it up and I jump into Trails in the Sky, and I found that there was like a patch for the first chapter that was a VO, which made it really nice. I really
Hmm.
liked that patch. And then I just played the rest of it normally, but I fell in love with that game pretty quickly,
Me too.
and I think objectively that's probably my favorite arc. I have the most nostalgia for the Ereboni arc for sure, but I think after that, like as far as like a narrative, the Liberal games are still probably the best.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, because I just think like it starts off with Estelle and Joshua, like, and Joshua's like, and let's put this in context. This game came up 2004, so like,
Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
right.
so these are old games, so like the vibes for certain characters, like Joshua to me was always like an edge lord, he was kind of like an
Hmm.
edgy, like, because that was the vibe for protagonists at that point. But but everyone forgets that the real protagonist of that game is Estelle,
Right.
like, and her growth as a bracer. And I just think the game starts off so good where, you meet Cassius and then he runs off to Erebonia to go deal with Ouroboros, which you don't know at the time, but that's why he leaves. Because, like I stated earlier, Ouroboros had set up. They made I forget who it was. I think Campanella start blowing up fucking bracer guilds. I think it's Campanella.
That sounds right, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, but they basically make him blow up a bunch of bracer guilds in Erebonia. So Cassius, who's a bracer at this point, he's like, "Yeah, I got to go help them deal with this." So he leaves, and this is when it opens it up for Ouroboros to help start a coup d'état. So talk about your memories with Trails in the Sky.
I don't remember like the specific place and time that I was playing them. I can tell you that I played through almost all of Trails in the Sky on my Steam Deck. I remember playing that, and I remember just like chilling out, having a good time playing through them on my Steam Deck. I remember struggling with the combat system at first because it's so drastically different from Trails of Cold Steel. And for people that don't understand or don't know, basically the combat style started in Trails of the Sky, and then they add one thing each game, and they change one thing each game. And so to go from Trails of Cold Steel 4 all the way back to Trails in the Sky, which has like a different magic system and everything, that was a very jarring experience, and I had to like really figure out how to do things in that game. But also Trails in the Sky is a very character driven story. There's not a whole lot of overarching plot movement that goes on in Trails in the Sky. Um, and I would even argue Trails in the Sky second chapter. There's not even there's like little hints of things that are going on, and enemies from Ouroboros that show up. But it's a very intimate, character driven story. You get to know Estelle and Joshua and Tita and Agnes, and they go on this grand adventure together to become official bracers and save the kingdom from like you said, a coup d'etat. And um there's the the twist ending with
Oh,
Joshua, which I was mind blown by the way, mind blown. And I even liked the villain. I thought Richard was a very commendable villain. I
yeah,
thought out of all the villains in the games, he might be one of my favorites because
yeah.
he's this noble guy who's really trying to do what he thought was best for the kingdom.
And he's getting
And
manipulated.
yeah,
Like,
he's getting manipulated, and you come to like him, especially like way later on in
yeah,
when he makes appearances in future games. Which I think it's a shame we didn't really get much of an appearance from him in the further games.
yeah,
But playing as him in like Sky the Third he was a nasty character in Sky the Third.
yeah. How'd you feel
Nasty.
about him being from the eight leaves school?
Oh, I think it's awesome. Anytime one of these fools pop up, you're like, oh, this guy's serious, you know. But yeah, I love Richard, and I love pretty much all the characters except for Tita. I don't like Tita.
You know who I hated in that game? Agate.
Really?
Well, he starts off being like a giant cocksucker.
Well, yeah, he's the heavy blade.
The heavy blade, like you fucking douchebag. He grows on me, but yeah, first off, I fucking hated Agate. I'm like, yeah, this dude's an asshole.
I don't think there's a whole lot to say about the first game in the series, other than it's like a really fun, down to earth adventure between like a cast of characters, and it's probably amazing for someone who just picked this game up and played it for like a PSP RPG
Oh
to
man,
see where the series has evolved into over time. Like that has to be such a crazy journey to have been gone
yeah.
through. If you were like one of the OGs that picked it up in 2004, first
On
off, you didn't get the second game until like
way later,
2008 or something like
yeah,
that. It
on
was like
PC.
forever. Yeah, forever. And then that started this cascading effect of like these games being like slowly released throughout the US to the point where we are now. We're almost caught up, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
we're what we're two. We're so basically whenever Daybreak 2 comes out, we'll be one game behind.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that which is huge.
Well, we're
But
one
yeah,
game behind right now.
no, because no, we're
Kai
gonna be
hasn't
two.
released yet.
It comes out next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're ah, I saw the trailer for that game, Kai. I'm like fucking oh, but yeah, no, I just remember with Trails in the Sky first chapter, just the writing in that game is like still some of the best in the series. Where
Mm-hmm.
like every single character in that game has like crazy arcs. Like Oliver, it's probably Olivier is probably my favorite character in that game
Yeah, no,
because like
you're a big fan of him.
he was that was like one of the few times in like RPGs like I'm like reading lines and like out like he like makes you laugh like with some of the shit he says and does.
Yeah.
And it's just you just don't see writing like that. And then just how his story evolves through those games, like basically he's with you for 7 games
Yep.
or more because like I don't remember if he pops up in the crossbow games at all, but he's just so prevalent and then like he uses his experiences in the liberal games to like lay the foundation for class 7 and all that. I'm like that's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you even run into characters like Lecter pops up in the liberal
Oh,
games.
yeah. I saw him. I'm like, this motherfucker.
Yeah. And he's just like a giant dick. Like,
Yep.
and even Osborne pops up in those games.
I couldn't believe it. He pops up in the end of second chapter or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They mentioned it. Like, yeah, the Blood and Iron Chancellor. And they just pops in. You're like, what the fuck? And then that's when you're really introduced to Ouroboros. I think the first Ouroboros guy you run into is what Louve, right? You run into him when you're fighting in the tournament. That's when he first pops.
Maybe I'm thinking that you run into the Phantom Thief,
Yeah, Blue Blanc,
Blue
right?
Blanc, in like the first game, right?
Mm, yeah,
I thought that was how that went.
And then like or and then in the liberal games, Ouroboros has that like famous fucking theme that like um I forget the name of the song, but it's so iconic that like every time you hear it, you think of Ouroboros. And then Louve, like
Yeah.
and when you fight him in second chapter, his boss fight theme is a fucking banger.
Oh no. Okay, yeah. So he is so Blue Blanc is in Trails of Cold Steel first chapter, or Trails in the Sky the first chapter,
Yeah.
but he's not revealed as a member of Ouroboros. He's just the Phantom Thief.
Okay. Did you know there's a site called Trails in the Database that you can like look up when what game someone was first mentioned, like to the line?
No.
Yeah, it's like so as toxic as the Trails fandom is, they are very fucking dedicated.
Trails.
It's like Trails in the Database or something like that.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's talk about the end of first chapter because that is a mind fuck.
Yep.
Where this motherfucker Weisman comes in and just breaks Josh. Was like, yeah, you've been a spy the whole time, and I hid your memories away, and now like I unlocked your memories, and you're basically this emotionless husk.
Yeah, and you're like, what? And because
he's there the entire time. Weisman is there the entire fucking time,
and I did not see him coming until I didn't see the situation coming until like that ending cutscene started where Joshua starts talking to Weisman and like his picture changes and he like starts smiling and I'm like, what's this motherfucker got going on, you know? Because he's like an archaeologist or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because he's I think he's an Anguis, right? He's the faceless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like this fucking diabolical motherfucker who, if you know his backstory, he's from Northumbria, and his parents got killed in the salt pail incident, which makes it really ironic because the way what happens with Weisman at the end of SC, which we'll run through second chapter. So second chapter is probably my favorite. It's a tie between that and third because I really like Trails in the Sky the third. Because I really like Kevin, even though for some reason Kevin's on like a milk carton for a bunch of games after that. But dude, isn't it crazy that he just doesn't pop up for any other game? Like really?
Yep. But he's coming back for the final one.
He is coming back.
Which, by the way, did you know? So that's been a mistranslation. This isn't going to be the final Trails game.
No, I think I know why it's called what it's called.
Yeah. So yeah, and I have my theories onto what
they set that up at the end of Daybreak.
Yeah. Well, I think they set it up at the end of Reverie, right? I mean, they kind of are like something traumatic is going to happen in 4 years' time, like.
Yeah, we'll get there, but yeah, second chapter is when you really. I feel like it's a game that like almost that's like the big introduction to Ouroboros. And so, do you think these guys are evil or not? Quick side note on Ouroboros. I can't get a read on them.
This is one of my big annoyances with the series is that they seem to have switched direction with them because I think it's unequivocally clear that Ouroboros has evil intentions through the first few games. And then at some point in Cold Steel, they start turning around. They're like, oh, maybe there's a deeper level to these guys that you haven't seen yet. And it's like, I think you're flying by the seat of your pants now. I think like, and then especially with like their complete like disappearance in Daybreak, which we'll get to eventually, that like infuriates me. It seems like at this point, no, they're not like actual villains. They just have a whole bunch of bad guys working for them. But I think there's some sort of overall noble intention, which seems to be a theme for the series anyway. So.
Yeah, because I can't get a read on that's one they either wrote them in such a way that they're so ambiguous that it's kind of like subject to interpretation. Because even a guy like Louve, like in his character profile, it's noted that he's a very honorable person. Like he doesn't like dishonorable actions.
Yeah,
but and even like the Steel Maiden Arian Rod, yeah, that's weird. She's like literally the Steel Maiden, Leanne Sandlot, who is like literally a hero.
Yep.
But she's a member of Ouroboros. So I'm like, okay, hold on.
And she never discloses why she joins Ouroboros, if I remember correctly.
No one ever really does.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they met the Grandmaster and joined Ouroboros.
Yeah.
It and then we'll get to the Grandmaster too, because I have some problems there too. But yeah, I just feel like this game though, like every Ouroboros character you run into is always so fucking cool though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like who's the least cool member of Ouroboros? Like, let's
Campanella.
yeah, it's got to be him. But but he's in so many games and he's just like a fuck in every game. Is giving you shit. Like I feel like he's like the only bad guy, like the only legitimately bad guy.
Like every time I see him, I'm like, oh my god, I hate this guy. Like I just want to beat his ass.
Yeah, and like, is he a boy or a girl? Who knows?
Is he an adult or a child?
Who knows? And like, we can't even sit there and say it's this like woke stuff because he's been like that literally since the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
the first time you meet Campanella, you don't know if he's a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you meet Ren, who like at the time I'm like, that's a fucking such a wild character. You have this little girl with like a fucking scythe who loves killing people.
Yeah. And then you get her backstory.
Then you get her backstory, like,
fuck.
oh fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do her memory door in the third?
Yeah.
Whew.
Dark stuff.
Yeah, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Also, did you catch in that memory door? You might have not caught it because I didn't catch it until I rewatched it recently. I feel like she names a character from Daybreak.
No, I'll have to rewatch it.
Yeah, she's like Cross somebody, Catra or Quatra. Somebody. It's like the names are similar, so it's either him or I don't really know. We'll get into him too, but yeah, like I feel like she names one of the characters from Daybreak in there, which would be insanity to me. But yeah, no, just like you meet Ren, and then you meet the fucking Dire Wolf, which he was probably my favorite character of Ouroboros in SC.
Okay, so also I want to talk about him. Do I have a false memory, or was it implied that he died at the end of that game?
What do you mean?
I really thought that Direwolf died in the second chapter.
I don't think he died. Yeah.
Whatever happened to him? Because remember him and Zen fighting on top of the tower.
Yeah.
And then we beat him, but I thought we beat him to death.
No,
that's what I remembered.
No, the one you think implied that they died was the one who fought Shreazar. I can't pronounce her goddamn name.
Sure. Whatever. Yeah, Shreazar or whatever. But I remember she fell off. She let go.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. Fucking bit the dust. But I don't think Walter died. I don't remember anything happening to Walter specifically.
But that fortune teller is not dead, right?
No, no one dies.
She is. By the way, she is implied to be the fortune teller in, I think, Reverie.
Really?
Yeah, remember that fortune teller in Reverie?
Oh yeah.
It's implied she's her. If you go there with Risha, because Risha apparently knows her, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but
yeah. No, I don't remember anything happening to Walter because like I just think like he just once you beat him, he just kind of like leaves.
He's pretty cool. Direwolf's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I liked Walter, and then you fight Blue Blanc, who his rivalry with Oliver. I'll be honest, like he might be one of the weaker characters in Ouroboros. So it's kind of like, I don't really know why he's there. He's not really a bad guy either. And then who the fuck is and then Luve is the last guy you fight from Ouroboros, which again, that fight is fucking straight gas.
Oh yeah.
And then so then you beat Luve, and then eventually you fight Wiseman. He turns into like this angel, and because they're fighting over the Oriole, and then you beat him, and then so Wiseman teleports away, and then the whole place starts breaking down and all that, and then it cuts to another cutscene where you see Wiseman. He's like, "This is bullshit. I can't believe I lost." And then Kevin pops up, and he's like, "Kevin, what the fuck are you doing here?" Because this is the game you meet Kevin. And then Kevin just shoots him with an arrow. And Wiseman's like, "What the fuck?" and kind of starts laughing it off. Then he turns to salt and dissolves and dies. And you're like, "Oh." And then you learn Kevin's literally, his name is the Heretic Hunter, and his only reason for being in that game was to get. He actually lets Estelle get captured so he can get close to Ouroboros to kill Wiseman.
He's an absolute master of his craft, a master assassin for the church.
Yeah. But I feel like that's like probably one of the few scenes in the Trail series where someone just gets straight killed, like just
Yeah.
straight up killed.
Yeah, and you watch him die also.
You watch him die.
It
Yeah.
doesn't happen off screen, like you watch him die. So
Yeah. Yeah, and like and Wiseman's he's one of the few who stays dead. Like I feel like a lot of people don't, like I said, don't stay dead in these games, but Wiseman's he stayed dead.
he's gone.
He's gone. But then,
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
if you watch that scene, like I recently rewatched that scene over again. I didn't know Campanella comes and takes the like Oriole at the end there.
I don't remember that either.
Yeah, he actually comes and takes it, and then there's another. I think there's a memory door in the third where they follow up on that scene, and he gives that to the Grandmaster. So the Grandmaster has that Oriole thing right now, and has done literally nothing with it.
There's so much that happens that I cannot keep it straight in my memory. What's going on? I think I'm like getting old and like starting to lose my memory because me and Caitlin both had the realization today when we were in the car. We were listening to the latest Constellation. They were talking about the Batman, and I was telling Caitlin, I was like, you know what? I thought the Batman was a great movie, and I remember walking in the theater being like really surprised at how much I liked it. But I told her, I was like, I cannot remember a single fucking plot point from that movie. And I asked her, I was like, can you? And she's like, no, I can't remember anything about it either. I mean, I know the Riddler's in it, and I remember I liked it. I cannot remember anything else about that movie.
Yeah, see, I remember with that movie. It's ironic to bring that up. That I thought that was the first movie that did like the Riddler justice. The Riddler like felt like a threat.
I guess I don't remember. I don't remember anything about that movie, and I feel the same way about Trails. Where like I have forgotten more about Trails than I've probably played. There's so much about this series that like we name off, and I can't remember half the stuff.
Yeah. So this is why every once in a while I'll like watch lore videos, just kind of refresh my memory a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there's shit that you'll forget. But yeah. So after SC, then we get to this game's another divisive game in the Trail series. Either people love it or hate it.
I think we need to point out that after SC, I go on vacation at Disney World, and you beat like 6 games in 2 weeks, like 3.
Yeah, I went on a run. Yeah, because I had literally nothing to do. So I start playing Trails in the third or Trails. Is Trails in the Sky third?
Yeah,
like third chapter. And initially I thought this game was going to be like a side story, which it isn't. Like I don't know, anyone who says it's a side story needs to get slapped.
It's not like, skippable.
Yeah, you can't skip the third. Like I don't know whoever says you don't need to play third chapter is fucking lying to you, because basically it sets up the church, which becomes a very big deal very quickly in later games, and it gives you like you'll miss out on Kevin, who's a great protagonist, and his backstory is fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
Like his mother tried to fucking kill him because she was like tired of living and didn't want him to live without her, and then he like runs away and then comes back and she killed herself. So then he's like living with another family, and then he ends up killing the one girl's mom because he went berserk with his stigma. So yeah, he's got a super fucked up backstory.
Reus and
Reese
Ignis, I think her name is. Like find him in the street.
Yeah, and he ends up that's how he ends up joining the church. But yeah, basically third chapter is where they fucking kick you right in the nuts with Ren's backstory. That's when Colonel Richard has his redemption arc. You finally get to put hands on Mr. Bright, which that motherfucker. Oh, did you see like the preamble to that fight? That like, hey, this fight's gonna be pretty difficult. Would you like to lower the difficulty?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hit no, and like he literally fight starts. He starts off with an S craft. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this game?
I love Sky the Third. One of my favorite games in the whole series. I remember not liking it at first because I did not realize that you could fast travel, and I was running back everywhere because you. By the way, you cannot fast travel in chapter 1 and 2. You can't do it. So when you go into Sky the Third and it's a giant dungeon crawler, and you feel
Yeah,
like you have to run all the way back through all these dungeons to make any progress in the story, you can do that. But for the first like few hours, I didn't realize that you didn't have to do that. I thought you had to.
I remember when
So
you told me that. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
yeah, I was just running back through all these dungeons to get back to the garden.
You were probably
Um,
over leveled.
well, no, because I was just running past all the enemies. Yeah, so that's what I was doing. Um, I thought Trails in Sky the Third was a phenomenal experience. I thought it was really cool how they put a nice ribbon on the Sky games. They found a way to include pretty much every major character, including like I said, like the villains, like Richard you got to play as. Um, and I had a blast with it. I thought it was really really well done. Um, there isn't a whole lot to talk about other than like I think Rias was a new character
Yeah,
for Sky the Third, and I thought they expanded upon her character great, which is really weird because they immediately dropped her from the series.
yeah. She's another
Um,
one. Milk carton.
yeah,
Nor to be found.
they make her like a really phenomenal, excellent character. They have her pop up in like one or two more games as like a cameo, and they never use her ever again. And I'm like, that's really weird because you gave her like a really intense, um, expanded backstory. So I'm not sure what they're thinking about with that. Kevin as well. I thought Kevin was super cool. Loved his like S craft ability, especially the second one he gets at the end where he like decimates
Yeah.
people, and I thought that was awesome. Um, did they remember their time in the corridor or not? Like at the end, I
No, they
can't
don't
remember.
remember it. They don't remember it.
Okay, because I was gonna say the plot moving forward with Ren didn't really make sense after this, right? Because at the end, they tell Ren they're gonna find her, and like she like comes back around to them, and then they have to do it again in the Crossbell games,
Yeah,
right? So I was very confused about that. And then there's the whole thing with Ren and Van, which I was trying to place timeline wise, but I could only figure out how to place that before the Crossbell games.
yeah,
So I'm not really sure exactly what's going on there, but I like I said, I absolutely loved Sky the Third. I didn't think it stuck around too long. I thought that it was the perfect length and it moved the story along nicely. And like I said, the Sky games I view as deeply character driven narratives, and you got a finale for all the characters in Sky, and I thought that was a really, really great experience because this was before we were moving the plot along with Ouroboros at like a rapid pace.
yeah, yeah. No, I have no complaints about the third. Well, okay, two complaints. This is when I feel like the stupid shit started, where they'll do. Oh, I wonder who this is. Let's put a mask on him. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like because right in the beginning you have like clearly Louve again, who's
yeah,
alive, or who for some reason is just there.
yeah,
And then the Lord of Phantasm ends up being like the girl that Kevin killed initially. So, but like you wouldn't know that, but like the guy who was clearly Louve was a little dumb. Like, it was just
I
like I feel like he kind of got the Shadow the Hedgehog treatment where he was like just too popular to kill off. So like let's bring him back for one game, but he's not really alive, and let's kill him again. And it's crazy because like he's stayed dead, Louve.
yeah,
Yeah, like
have
he
not
like
brought him back yet.
and but you would think he'd like I would have thought he would have made an appearance in like Reverie somehow,
Hmm.
but no, our boy stayed dead. So pour one out for Louve. All right, so then after the Liberal arc, let's get the Crossbell. And you said you didn't really jive with this arc too much.
No, I actually I think I really like to Trails from Zero, Trails to Zero.
Yeah, Trails from Zero.
I really like Trails from Zero. I thought Trails from Zero was great when I was playing through it. And I was like, wow, this is I'm really vibing with like the new art style, and the way these characters are written is like great. Um, and I really, really enjoyed my time with it. I thought that the DG cult and how it tied to Ouroboros was like really good, and you were ready to put hands on some fools at the end. And then I thought the cast, there's not a single party member that I like don't like. Lloyd was like irrelevant to me. I didn't hate him. He was like kind of dumb. But all the other characters I absolutely loved, and it ties directly into the Sky Games in a big way with Ren and Estelle and Joshua. So people that say like you could jump on the crossbow games, wrong. Couldn't do
Yeah,
that
no.
because they play a major part. And in fact, are playable characters in the final chapter of this game, which I thought was a really cool callback. And they're just as powerful as they were in the previous games. By the way, they are absolute sluggers in the final dungeon.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, did you notice they like kind of honey dick you in the beginning? Because you in the beginning of Zero, you start off in that final dungeon, but Estelle and Joshua aren't there.
no, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so yeah, they're not there, and that's when that they explain it in Azure. That's when the timeline kind of that divergent timeline, because
uh,
that's the timeline where they all went to go fight the dude from the DG cult and died.
I guess that makes sense. I guess
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
and Q was like, "Nah, let's hit the rewind button." Yeah, so for a minute there in Trails, we had divergent timelines for a hot second there.
I thought the idea of being a detective instead of a bracer fit really well with the theme of like doing these quests every day or whatever, and just getting these cases wrapped up. I thought that was a nice switch up. And yeah, overall, I absolutely loved the the plot line in Trails to Zero. Like you said, Trails to Azure, not that big on. I thought that Trails to Azure was a little long in the tooth. I thought that I think we all learned in school like the normal plot progression for a story is to like build up to a peak, and then it kind of cools off a little bit for the climax. I felt like in Azure, I feel like that was like a really good. I thought Trails of Zero did a really good job of that. But with Azure, it just felt like a roller coaster, right? Like there was so many peaks and valleys in Azure where I'm like, all right, let's go. You hyped me up. I'm ready to go. And then like, oh well, we gotta do all these like missions first. We gotta solve a bunch of more cases first. And I'm like, let's not, let's go get them. So I don't know. That's how I felt with Azure a lot. But Zero, I loved. I thought that the pacing in Zero was great and phenomenal. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it.
What did you think of that first Yin fight where you fight her in Stargazer Tower? Oh,
I mean, I don't remember what I actually thought about the difficulty or whatever, but because I played Crossbell, I was like, or because I played the Cold Steel games, I was like, oh, what's up, Risha? you know, um,
no, I
but
just remember that first encounter, just when that inevitable struggle song hits. Like, well,
oh yeah,
yeah,
um, I will say though, her power level
doesn't make sense.
very strange
Yeah, it
because
scales. Doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make any sense at all because everyone's like, oh, that's Yin, the legendary assassin. And then it's like, well, I fought alongside her for a few games. She's an okay character.
Yeah,
She's an okay character.
yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, the Yin encounters, and then when you fucking fight Duvali, I'm like,
Oh yeah, Doofily the Swift.
That's a stiff boss fight in there. They sneak into you because like if you're not ready for it. Also, which I forget which game. One of the final bosses is like stupidly hard in one of these games. I don't remember which one it is. It's either Azure or Zero. I can't remember which one.
One of them heal themselves. It's really annoying.
Yeah, him. Yeah, he sucked.
Yeah, it's really really annoying. And if I remember correctly, you have to destroy all his minions or something where you can't damage him, and then he heals himself, and it's like, all right, fuck off. This is getting ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then see, my favorite one's Azure because I just feel like so much happens in Azure. Like that's when you find out the fucking stupid lawyers, the goddamn mastermind behind all of it. That
Which
mother.
I started to suspect because they played it. They played it a little too wild with him because he
Yeah,
started popping up in places all over
that he shouldn't have been. Yeah,
that he shouldn't have been. I'm like, there's something more to this guy. I didn't
yeah,
suspect him at all in the first game. It wasn't until Azure where he shows up at like the giant like meeting between Arabonia and
yeah,
Crossbell and Calvard, and he's there randomly. I was like,
yeah.
oh,
Why is he there?
legal
Why is this
expert. I'm
lawyer
like,
there? Yeah,
it's like this like small town lawyer just like in
yeah.
all these international affairs. No, there's
Yeah, and
something
then
going
like
on.
after he goes to jail, they're like still cool with him. Nah, fuck
Yeah.
you, dude.
It's the same way I feel at Arios.
Dude, yeah, dude. I don't fuck with Arios. Everyone seems to like him. I don't fuck with him. Don't fuck
Yeah,
with him.
we are not on good terms, buddy.
Yeah. So the thing with Arios McLean, he's a cool looking character. He's a divine blade of I think wind, right? But this motherfucker got Guy Bannings killed. Fuck him.
Yeah, like straight up was gonna kill Guy Bannings. Like, well, it's ambiguous. If Guy Bannings didn't think he was gonna kill him, right?
Yeah.
But which is Lloyd's older brother for people who somehow are unfamiliar with the series, but um don't know. And he like they're like best friends. That'd be like
Yeah.
me like betraying you to the
Yeah.
death. It's like no,
Yeah.
we are not cool, man.
Yeah. Right.
God, I'm so tired of that. And like that's one of my biggest gripes with this whole series. Is
Yeah.
like we're just like pretending like we're totally chill with villains. We are not.
Yeah.
We are not chill.
No. Yeah, especially with Arios, because fuck that.
They do the same thing in Daybreak, by the way, with the guy that like blew up an entire village. They're like, oh,
yeah.
maybe you could live a normal life. No, motherfucker.
No, you
like,
can't. No.
you are about your head is on the block. We're about to chop it off.
Yeah. Because yeah, that shit's wild. But yeah, with Arios, who shoots Guy? Isn't it the lawyer who shot him?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, that guy sucks. That guy sucks.
Yeah, and yeah, they just pretend, like, especially in Reverie, they like pretend like he's all cool. It's like, no, dude, like you can get fucked. Like you belong in a jail cell.
Yeah, and they give him internet access in the jail. So yeah, you can access the Orbital network in here. Fuck off. Fuck all the way off. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know I really liked Azure. I love like there's so much character development. The thing about Wazzy I didn't see coming like at all.
No, I didn't see that coming either.
That fucking asshole's a Dominion. Like I was like, motherfuck.
Why they always got to be undercover? Why can't they just stroll in and be like, "Hey, I'm a Dominion. This is what I want to do." Why you guys got to be like lying sons of bitches?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, him being a Dominion was like literally I didn't see coming. I was like, oh shit. And then like I enjoyed the fights with the Red Constellation because those motherfuckers are crazy.
Yeah.
And I love the art style where they like attack Crossbell and they like in the little chibi art style, you see people getting shot. And it's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And the one gangster dude that transforms is just like jumping on buildings. Like,
yeah.
Very crudely.
Yeah. But this is where they set up the D&G call and remember because when we were playing through Daybreak, I was messaging like, "Yo, these guys were mentioned in Rever or in Crossbell." Like it was a crazy like fucking basically almost 4 games ago.
Yeah,
they start laying the groundwork of like fuck these guys, and then like it's crazy how that whole universe is like at each other's throats, and then these guys pop back because we're like, no, hold on, fuck these guys.
Well, yeah, because they're like experimenting on children and stuff.
Yeah,
like really fucked up ways.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Yeah, no, I really loved the Crossbell games, and I think it's probably objectively my second favorite arc, just because I really love the characters in it, minus Lloyd. He's probably the weak point there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because my favorite character is probably Randy out of that whole bunch, and then Wazzy, probably because Wazzy's like the funny one.
Yeah, Wazzy is funny.
And we also don't know if he's like gay or what's going on with him, but because he does some weird shit.
He makes it pretty clear, which is crazy because he's part of the church. He makes it pretty clear that he's like a prostitute on the side who like takes jobs from anybody, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm also a church Dominion." It's like, what are you talking about, bud?
Yeah, I don't. He's a really weird character, but I like him. He's funny. Yeah, he's another one who genuinely makes me laugh. And then I like Dudley. For some reason, he's another character I really like, the detective.
Yeah.
He's just like he reminded me of like a cooler Machias.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I looked up before I even beat the game if they were related because I was like, "There's no way." They literally are the same character, except one's a detective, one's a student in Arabonia. in the
Yeah,
same fighting style. Like,
yeah.
what the hell is going on here?
Well, then they fucking make another carbon copy of Dudley and Machias and Calvard, like fucking
Oh
Renee.
yeah, he's a little different, but like, yeah,
Same
he's
guy.
pretty similar. He just doesn't have green hair and
Yeah,
glasses and uses a shotgun.
yeah. He uses handguns, but I'm just like, okay. And maybe they're doing that on purpose. Like maybe it's just kind of like they're putting a counterpart to every single person. But
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah. So then moving on, we get to this game right here, Trails in the Reverie.
Reverie, phenomenal.
And I'll be honest, why the fuck is the Grandmaster on this cover? Why?
So I have an answer for you. I do have an answer for you because this is not a legitimate answer. This is the answer that they gave when questioned about it. They said that they were going to include her more in the game, but they ran out of time and had to cut those parts out, but the box art was already finalized, so it was too late to change it. I say
Bullshit.
that's a load of bullshit. There's no way you guys just made like a bad decision. But that is the answer they give, because there's no way you like. What are you talking about? You're still developing the game, but the box art's finalized. You can change the box art.
Yeah,
get out of here.
And you know what's bullshit? Because isn't this the same box art from the Japanese version?
Yes.
So you mean to tell me you fucked it up in the Japanese version? Fine, I could get there. But then the US release, you do the same thing? No. Like, come on.
No, they probably like, damn, this is a cool cover. People are gonna love this.
Why is she there? Why is she there?
Because that's the big reveal. We got one scene from her, and it's not even part of the main story. It's a post game fucking tiny scene.
Yeah. And that's the biggest issue. What is the issue with the Grandmaster? What is going on?
Yeah, they have to start telling people something. Like they should not be wrapping up the story of Ouroboros in one game. There's no way that they can do that, because that would be out of control. We don't even have all the members yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen all the Anguis or all the enforcers. Aren't there like 20 enforcers?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a bunch.
I'm just like, yeah, and that's just, I remember when I got this game, and then when I finished it, because I really loved Trails into Reverie. I really love it. Great game.
I love it.
It's like the Avengers of the Trail series, basically.
Yes.
But then I always stare at this cover and I'm like, what's the deal with the Grandmaster? And it's going to really bother me until I get it answered, because there's this other really stupid theory that's out there that I don't really believe, that the Grandmaster is also this person.
Oh, Nayuta?
Yeah, from Nayuta, which I don't think this game is connected like at all. But
I don't know. Because we have a multiversal component confirmed now, and like there's like weird shit going on with Zemuria, where they say they can't travel beyond a certain point in the sea.
Yeah, because quick side note with this game. So this game takes place on Remnant Isle. It's in the same, I think it's in the same world, or it's somehow in the same universe, but like allegedly it's a different timeline. Allegedly, because it shares a lot of similar things with the Trail series. Like Sepith is a thing in this. The character Nayuta's last name is Herschel, and they say his parents are like unknown, and they don't know who's like what happened to his parents. And I don't know. There's a lot of weird things going on. But if this game's somehow connected, I'll snap, because like this is stupid. Like that's crazy.
All I'm gonna say is they re-released that game in particular for a reason. They could have done any of their other games. They re-released that one for a reason on PS4. That's weird.
Yeah, and I'm probably one of like 5 people who beat it. Because I picked that game up because I'm like, these motherfuckers late release RPG, you sons of bitches. Like I knew it was up, so I picked that game.
I have it. I just don't know if I'm ever gonna play it.
You probably not. I don't see you liking that game like at all. It's basically like an East game, to be honest, like an older East game. That's what it reminds me of. But yeah, getting into Trails into Reverie. So, what are your thoughts on it? Like, what were your overall thoughts?
I loved it. I I thought it was funny. I remember messaging you being like, "God damn it, I'm so sick of what's his name? The guy who plays Crow in this game. Eustace's brother,
Oh, Rufus.
Rufus." I'm like, this guy's such a punk ass bitch. I'm so sick of him. Because here's the thing, Crossbell has been fighting for independence at this point for 6 fucking games. And they
Yeah,
finally got it. All right. And then this punk ass Rufus,
Daddy's
who
back.
we all thought was in prison, is just like, no, actually, I'm the governor and I'm taking over. And I'm like, I was, if that was the whole plot of the game, I would have hated the game. I would have been like, fuck this. I'm so sick of this. But thankfully they diverge off of that. And it has a more overarching plot. I do think the overarching plot in this game, pretty stupid. I think it's kind of dumb. Did I love the game? Yes, because the pacing in the game was phenomenal compared to other Trail series. They didn't beat around the bush. They had 3 timelines, and each of them would have been like, if you take into account, each of them would have been like 30 hours, right? So they didn't
Yeah,
have any time to fuck around. And they introduced those new characters, Swin and Nine. I don't
which,
remember her name.
by the way, these characters are from a novel in Trails of Cold Steel 4.
Yeah, what the fuck is that about?
Just
So
by
weird.
the way, which they assume you read it. Because
So weird.
I remember when they popped up, I was like, "Who the what?" So I looked up. They're like, "Oh, it's in a novel." So I had to like load up Cold Steel 4 and read it, which I didn't know you could just read it in Reverie. But
Yeah. Well, I read it on the website. They have it on the
yeah,
website. You can read.
yeah, I went and popped in my Cold Steel 4 and read it. I was like, "Oh, okay." And
But
what's crazy is that fucking novel has such a ripple effect
yeah.
on the road because like literally the gardens and like where these motherfuckers are from is literally the main issue in Daybreak. I'm like come on.
But well, I don't understand. I don't understand the canon with the book. Like, who wrote the book? You know, that's what I don't understand. What is the deal with the book? Because the book is referenced in, was it Daybreak
Yeah,
or Reverie? I think the book is, the actual book is referenced in Daybreak, where someone's like, "Oh, I think I've read that book before," or they sound like characters I know. And it's
yeah,
just like I think it might be Reverie, and I'm like, what is going on here with the book? You know,
yeah,
whatever. But um, essentially this game dives into like some tropes with the story of like a rogue AI that's like recreating people as robots and stuff. And then like, in my opinion, went off the rails when it got to Ishmael Gareen. Because I'm
yeah.
like, because it stopped making sense with him, because apparently he's like the real Ishmael Gareen pulled from other dimensions or
Mm-hmm.
recreated from other dimensions. And I'm like, doesn't make any sense. Because at a certain point, it stopped making sense because these people were supposed to be all robots, right? But Ishmael Green really had his powers, so it's like I don't understand what the fuck how that's supposed to work. But I kind of just gave it a pass because I was like, whatever. And I even looked it up, and they're like, oh, causality and stuff like that. You know,
Nah,
it's
nah,
stupid.
nah.
Um, but yeah, I thought Reverie was really great. Aside from like I said, the overall plot being kind of stupid, it was awesome to see pretty much every character so far, except for Kevin, like we talked about before, come together and like just build these all star teams to go in and beat the Reverie corridor and all team up together in the final chapter. I will say you convinced me to go back and run through the rest of the Reverie corridor. Um, and at a certain point, my characters were so strong that I pretty much stopped fighting
Yeah, no
enemies.
point. Yeah,
And I was like, all right, I'm not gonna bother with this anymore. I would run into a boss once in a while, and I would just be like, all right, fucking iced you, and move on. So that was I kind of just like sprinted through it. But when I got to the ending scenes and stuff, I was like, I should just watch this on YouTube. This was a waste of my time. That like it was not worth it, because the Reverie corridor added like an extra 20 hours or something like that, or maybe like 10 hours. I don't know.
yeah,
It was a long time. But yeah, I mean, I think the game's great. I think it's like sort of like Sky the Third. The Reverie is a nice bow as far as everything that happened in Crossbell and Erebonia, getting all those characters together, making incredible teams, seeing all these cool team ups. It was cool seeing like Reen versus Arios. And of course, you find out later on that that wasn't the real Arios, which sucked because I was like really anticipating beating his ass. But yeah, I really don't have many complaints about Trails in the Reverie.
No, I love Trails in the Reverie. That's probably one of my favorite games in the series, for sure. Yeah, my big complaint with the Grandmaster is, documented. That's probably my biggest gripe is that, because even in the end scene with the Grandmaster, it doesn't really give you anything. But then it sets up basically Daybreak a little bit. And then some of the end game cutscenes, like the extra stuff, so much of that sets up Daybreak. Like so much of it. Like like there's a scene with Van and it's Van and Ren, I think. Like, or basically they allude it's Van. Like they don't show you it's Van, but like now
it's Dingo. It's
I
Dingo
thought it was Van.
No, it's Dingo that pops up. Because Dingo is the one that like gives Ren all the information, but Van is the one that the request went through, and that's referenced later on.
And then they have that one-on-one with Reen and Shizuna,
which is awesome.
Yeah, which they assume you watched that because like in Daybreak they directly reference that.
Yep. And doesn't she have like the end of Itachi in Daybreak?
It's his. That's what I thought. She puts like the end of his cracked fucking Tachi on her blade.
Which is like awesome.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, by the way? Reen should have beat her. That's all I'm saying. Reen should have beat her ass. You know what? Because like we got her as a party member at the end of Daybreak. I'm not impressed.
No.
I'm like, Reen should have had this one in the bag. Reen's pretty fucking powerful.
But tell me you didn't shit a brick when she was like spirit unification. I was like, oh
my god! I was like, you got to be shitting me, dude. That's why I immediately messaged you that. Yeah. I was waiting for you to tell me you were past that moment, and I was like, damn, this is gonna make Pedro flip out.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
And she just copied it because apparently she's like Kakashi in Naruto, where she can just copy any ability.
Yeah, but they were just like, yeah. What? So we'll get into Daybreak. What are your whole thoughts on the Ikaruga clan? They're
awesome.
Yeah,
they're just like straight up ninjas. Yeah, I'm like all about it. Yeah, and then apparently she's not even the person in charge. Apparently there's a person more powerful than her, above her. So
yeah, it's crazy because like I saw in the trailer for Kai, they do show it's like at some point Reen gets his one-on-one back, like that they run it back.
Yeah,
which is good. We need that. That's like I feel like that's the rematch everyone's been waiting for. Do
you have any theories on who is leading that Ikaruga clan?
No, I do. Who?
Yeah, I think it's Master Kun Yun Fai or whatever.
Yun Kai Fai?
Yeah, I think he's the master.
The sword hermit. Yeah, because they reference him in Daybreak like a fair amount. They're like, yeah, I know what he's up to, and they don't make it seem like he's a good guy. Like they don't make it seem like he's kind of like liked.
Yeah, you never know with this series.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
All right, so let's get into Daybreak, the most recent Trails game. So, overall, how was your experience with it?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought, like I told you, the final chapter really pissed me off. And not because it was like hard or anything, or because it was too long. I actually think that the final dungeon in this game is like the most forgiving out of like a lot of the Trails games.